big part of this is obviously AI. And I saw that Sophia, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the AI robot Sophia, her, along with 50 of her other friends, were invited to Geneva for the UN's AI for Good conference or summit. And it's really fascinating because when I think about AI, it's amazing when you think about the possibilities. But on the other side of the coin is also the risks, the ethics of it. And that is, of course, something that you both look into a fair bit, given your, subject matter expertise. But I'm curious, like, how do you feel we're handling AI so far? And like the fact that we have these more humanoid robots, such as Sophia, and she has like a humanoid skin that's been given to her, but it's really interesting because she doesn't have hair. I don't know. I was just making a joke the other day so that she stays cool and doesn't get too hot-headed if like the dome on her head is covered. But she's there. She's interacting with people. She's Sophia has gone on TV shows. She has told jokes that were quite funny. Like she attempted to tell a knock-knock joke a few years ago, which was quite interesting. Okay, when you see this, how do you take it? What is your perspective on, oh my God, this is good, or oh my God, this is not good, or this is somewhere in the middle?
I actually don't have a position on this being good or bad. I'll tell you an example of an experiment we did with a colleague, Professor Frauke Zeller. So a couple of years ago, Frauke had this idea of a hitchhiking robot. Maybe you've heard of it. The name was Hitchbot. And the idea was that there's a robot where you put it on East Canada, it will hitchhike its way to West Canada all the way without the creator's intervention. So interesting thing was that this robot didn't actually have much technical capabilities. It was just a stand, like your regular camera stand, and then there was a bucket around it, which was its torso, and then we had like a piece of other plastic thing sitting on top, and it just had some LCDs as its eyes, and it had a set of things pre-recorded that it would just say, so not much intelligence. And the idea was we put this on the side of the road, and then people will see, and maybe they pick it up. And then they put it in their car, they take it so far they can, and then they drop it off the side of the road, and then somebody else picks it up. And I one of the ideas of this experiment was trust making between technology and humans, right? So you see a robot-looking thing on the side of the road, how much do you trust that technology without knowing what's inside that technology, right? It could be complicated AI, it could be nothing. And so the interesting thing was that the robot actually did make its way from East to West Canada, and then repeated the experiment in Germany. People actually took the robot to their weddings. They took it to bars with them. They partied with the robot. There was social media was full of the photos and all of that. So I think the core morale of that story is that regardless of how complicated the technology is, whether it's AI, whether it's quantum computing, whatever technology you're talking about, if you're integrating this technology with humans' daily lives, what is the trust-making mechanism, right? Me as a human, I want to interact with the robot, or I want to interact with an app on my phone, or I go to a website and I interact with it. What are the mechanisms through which I will trust the technology to be my advocate, would be good for me to use, right? And I think we're at the point where the AI technology has moved so fast, where people haven't really thought about the trust making or elements of trust in there, and therefore, and there's lack of understanding of how this technology works. So as soon as you see there's an app that's AI inside it, is this scary? Should I be using it? Is it going to take over my life? Is it going to change? So that element of what is it AI that's capable, and how should we be integrating AI into products or our daily lives so that people actually trust? And that's not just a technical question, right? So it wouldn't be the AI researchers who would solve that problem at the end, right? It's like genetically modified products on the shelves. Do I buy them? Are they good? Or is there a problem with that? And then it's not the geneticists who would solve that problem, right? You would have a whole host of other socio-technical aspects to it. You have lawyers and you have people from NGOs and so on who come in and say, if you want to deliver non-organic, genetically modified food, this is what you need to do, and this is how you make the customers trust and use it. So I think we're at a point where technology is moving quite fast, but all the other components that require the integration of technology into our daily lives is kind of lagging far behind.
Ibrahim had some excellent points about it. Like, we have to build the trust between technology and humans. And the most important thing that Ibrahim mentioned is that it's not an engineering problem or a computer science problem, right? If you think about it, right, that the so-called AI that we have currently, it still sits on a computer, and the things that it's solving is still all software-based. Like, why don't we have a robot butler that can do all household chores, right? You would think that would be like making AI solve the minute things that we need to be done at home will be more important than, like, say, making AI art, right? Because that's a creative process. So you think that the creative process will be left to humans. The reason it's not happening is because from a robotics point of view, right, we are not there yet, right? Like, of course, because robotics, like, that's why, like, even if you think about self-driving cars, right, why don't we have self-driving cars on the street yet? Because from a technological point of view, interacting with the real world and actually interacting like humans, having the tactile feeling of things, it's not as easy a problem as just feed an algorithm trillions of data points. It spits out an answer that looks like humans, right? So all the companies, what they're trying to do is, for example, even Sophia, right? I have a lot of reservation about Sophia because if you just take Sophia out and put a computer in there, people are not going to be as impressed because, like, even Sophia, some of these responses are pre-programmed, right? It's not even like Chat GPT based, which probably would be a little better. But they're giving it a humanoid form because they're trying to anthropomorphize the AI so that people think that, oh, we're talking to like a living being, right? But if we do that without taking the the socio-technical context in consideration, as Ibrahim was saying, the problem is that there will be a lot of mistrust. Because if you read any of the AI existential threat articles now, you'll see the top photo is probably a humanoid, right? Like a robot, like standing with a gun, or a robot standing with a tablet or something. But ChatGPT is just a computer chat interface. We are not there yet. A robot cannot really act human-like yet, right? So, like, the companies are pushing these things as marketing gimmicks, but then that's creating mistrust in people. But from the technology solution, people who are actually developing that technology, right? Like Ibrahim and I, we know the limitations behind it, but we need a bridge between the two.
Oh, that makes sense. And again, it is interesting how marketing and Hollywood always tend to exaggerate things. I mean, who would have thought that movies would be exaggerated, right? But to your point, like, Sophia is, when I first saw Sophia, I became very fascinated. And so I've been following her journey, and, she's won awards and done some amazing things, a lot of accomplishments. And, to this point of doing good for society, another robot that's been out there, it's named Grace. And so Grace has been trained to help with the elderly. So she's a nurse, essentially, in nursing care. I believe she's based in Japan, where she's actually like interacts with people and she helps them through physiotherapy. And, she's a nurse. And when we look at our demographics, like in the financial industry, like, we're always talking about the baby boomers, for instance, retiring, what their needs will be. And medical needs is a big one. And it's something that seems to be on this linear projection where it just keeps getting higher and higher. Yeah. But we don't fully have the younger generation to support that, right? Like not everyone is going within those fields. We have shortages in different types of, like the trades is a good example of where we have shortages. So in that case, back to your point of coexistence, perhaps we use these robots, we use AI and, AI language models to help us fill the gaps that are needed in our society.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't disagree. And I think, and I said, I'm kind of agnostic to technology being good or bad. It just depends on how you develop it. You can develop technology for great things, or you can develop technology for really, really bad things. It's just the way you think about technology development should be from, as you say, from a needs basis point of view, not from the technology point of view. What we have going on right now is that here's the technology, let's see what we can build, right? We're using this hammer that we have to try to solve everything. We were having a conversation earlier with some colleagues who were at Brookfield, who were looking at AI adoption in Canada. And the main question they were asking was, why do you think there are so few companies in Canada who have adopted AI? What can we do to accelerate AI adoption? And my question to them was, why do you think all companies should adopt AI to begin with? If it's like 6%, let it be. If there's more companies who think they need AI to be integrated, then they will find a way to integrate it. If they don't feel the need, you don't need to push. Like not every workshop needs to have a big hammer or a sledgehammer. Maybe they don't need it. So I think the perspective, your example was a fascinating one. Helping elderly. What are the needs? What are the gaps? How can technology help solve some of those problems? So if we go from real problems and then think, and it doesn't have to be AI, it can be AI, it can be multimedia, it can be anything. What is the problem? What does it take for us to solve it? And then see if technology, AI, large language models can help. That way, you make sure that technology is used for social good, right? But if you start from the technology, you create ripple effects of problems that then you have to chase and try to solve. You're building technology to, for instance, use it in HR systems to create short list of candidates. And so what you end up with is that all the male candidates are shortlisted and all the females are removed. And then you say, why did this happen? Can we solve this problem? And then you start creating another technology solution to solve that problem. And then you find out there's another bunch of problems with that technology that you created. So trying to solve problems that don't exist with technology will create more problems, and you try to create more technological solutions that then create more technology problems. So I think, I fully agree with you. We need to start from what are our problems? What does it take for us to solve those problems? And is AI a part of that solution? If it is, then sure, let's think about it. If it's not, we don't have to push it.